When I see people driving a Tesla and they do not have one of those Elon Musk went off the fucking rails and I'm sorry that I have this now, like this type of bumper sticker, you know what I'm talking about? When I see people driving a Tesla and they do not have that bumper sticker, I am judging you.
Release the hound.
I don't understand people that think like this. It's so odd. Like, you better drive the car with a sticker or I'm going to judge you. And I don't mind if somebody burns your car because it's for a good cause. I want you to live in fear.
Why? 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 Why?
Hi, I'm Kaylee Weichbrot. I'm a mom of 2 in Fairfax County. This is my oldest. And my husband and I have a difficult decision to make this fall as he is approaching preschool age, and we are faced with the decision of whether or not we are going to put our child in public school system where Fairfax County has decided to move forward with instituting gender studies in elementary school. Despite having done a study group, a focus group in the community to see if parents even wanted this. And when parents said no, the board voted 16-0 and said we're moving forward anyways. This shows clearly that they see parents not as partners, but as an obstacle for their agenda. And I have a really hard time looking at him and going, here, I'm just going to give you over to people who do not want to partner with me in how you're going to be raised. School and education is a huge part of a child's life. And early childhood is supposed to be filled with exploration and creativity and fun, not debating issues that are for adults to handle. These kinds of topics should be introduced sensitively and by parents who are raising their children with their values, not with an ideology passed down from the top.
I don't think that's democracy anymore. Because if most people said, no, we don't want that, we want to have it at a different age, in a different way, and the school board or whatever voted 16-0, everybody was against the community. You didn't have an ally with the people that gave you the option to make a choice in the community. Bruh, that's communism. We don't care how you voted. We like to give you the feeling that you voted for something. We just told you you're wrong with the most valuable person you have in your life.
I want to ask you about the Department of Education. States, as everyone I think knows, provide the majority of the funding and oversight for your local schools. But Kentucky, when we looked at the numbers, gets the 4th most federal education funding per student of any state in this country. How are schools going to get that money if the president closes the education department?
I think the bigger question, if we're sending all this money to Kentucky and all the other states, why are our scores abysmal? Why do 2/3 of the kids not read at proficiency? Why do 2/3 of the kids or more not have math proficiency?
It all looks really good, but they're actually wolf in sheep's clothing.
Isn't that up to the state?
Failure. What I'd like to let me finish. I'd leave it back to the states. It has always been a position, a very mainstream Republican position, to have control of the schools by the states, send the money back to the states, or better yet, never take it from the states.
Yep.
About half of our budget in Kentucky goes to education, and that's the same in a lot of states.
But when we looked at the budget in Kentucky, the state receives $2 billion in federal education funding. Do you have a guarantee that the federal government, federal taxpayers will still provide $2 billion in education funding? That seems important to your state.
I'd rather, well, no, what I'd rather is a guarantee that my kids can read and write and do math. The amount of dollars, look, the number of dollars has gone up exponentially and our scores have gone the other way. So dollars are not proportional to educational success.
Yeah, he has a point. He actually saying the more money we gave them, the more they sucked.
Let us investigate.
Public school stuff is going viral right now because in Illinois they have some statistic that has appeared. You can see so many schools, they're very well funded federally.
What? What's that smell?
The cologne?
Smell money. Okay.
So much money for every kid. You can see it right there. So many kids entering the school. You see it right there. But to speak at a proficient level, they can. None. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Go, gangster. So maybe the department that is funding these people sucks. Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe canceling it, they might be better. Because they kinda did better, but something happened.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I mean, is the teacher that sucks or what you're teaching that sucks?
I have so many questions!
They suck in science, they suck in math, they suck in reading.
I think, to put it mildly, education could be better in America.
Absolutely.
Admit I was right.
Circumstances do suggest a connection.
Admit it with more gusto.
You were right.
Yes.
But you also just admitted, and it's just fact, that most of the funding, most of all of the curriculum, and everything that goes into educating our students happens on a local level. So I'm not quite sure how eliminating the Department of Education is going to make those test scores go up.
Federal funding comes with strings attached. To receive federal funding, states must comply with certain regulation and mandates standardized by testing requirement. Some argue this forces states to follow federal guidelines even if they don't align with local priorities. So in other words, you got states that have to do the thing to get federal funding, and once they get the federal funding, maybe they have to change a certain way of teaching to go forward.
Show me the money!
And guess what? Now they're saying it's an issue locally. I'm like, well, maybe you change how they had to think locally, and that's why nobody can speak proficiently. Don't you see something aligning over there? Because the Department of Education decides what they can teach, or they won't get federal funding.
We saw with our scores recently with the NAEP, which is our country's report card, it's unacceptable where education is in our country today. And so the Department of Education does not educate one child.
Say that again.
And so the Department of Education does not educate one child. It does not establish any curriculum in any states. It doesn't hire teachers. It doesn't establish programs. What it is more of a pass-through of funding, which is appropriated by Congress, by the way. And so we want to make sure that that funding continues in the departments where it needs to be, but at the same time, give states the opportunities to be innovative and creative with their teaching.
The fact that she said it doesn't educate one child is just a bloated bureaucracy. One person on your side? Hey man, I don't want to be condescending. I don't want to agree. It's not my point. It's just that I'm surprised you don't see it. She just said Department of Education is not needed. It's in the way. We can try to help with a little money here and there, but locally, they need to do something different.
We're facing programs that are going to be affecting students there's not going to be any defunding for those programs. When he talked about student loans, that would be going to the Small Business Administration, and also then the programs for students with disabilities will more than likely rest in HHS, which by the way is where they began. I think we're looking at putting things in different departments where they can operate very efficiently as we look at how we can shut down the Department of Education.
Do they not operate efficiently now?
Not as well as they should be.
So the loans are gonna work.
Like, you really don't care if the kids can apply to go to college?
Remember the mom that was crying, my child is not gonna be getting loan. No, everything is gonna work. What about the disabled kid? She just said it. It's just going to go to the original plan where it worked, not the idea that somebody else in the Department of Education is going to do better as long as you teach the way they want you to teach. It has been normalized to think in a specific way that I know better, and if you disagree, I'm not gonna like you, and you keep doing that energy, I'll burn your car.
What? One of the things we're going to do here in Ohio is I'm going to lead this state to be the first state in the country to adopt merit-based pay for every teacher and principal and administrator. Pay for performance. That's what businesses do. There's no reason we shouldn't be running our public schools in the same way. People will say that means they're going to teach to the test. Tests should not be the sole outcome. It should include peer reviews of other teachers. It should include parental assessments. Most parents do know how well their kids are doing in the classroom. But at the end of the day, teacher quality is the number one factor in a school that affects the performance of a student. The best teachers in the country right now, sadly, are underpaid, to your point, Sean. We need to fix that, but we need to fix that through meritocracy by paying for performance. There isn't a state that does it yet. Thanks to President Trump's bold actions today, we can lead the way.
Is this a solution? Well, it's something different, Because if a kid can't read, because maybe they're ashamed, they don't know how, we need to push them in the direction. These days, a lot of people consider that abuse. They're coming happy to school. Yes, I can understand that, but that's not the mission. I'm not paying you to be a daycare. I'm paying you to teach the kid, or find a way how you can teach the kid in a more interesting way.
Whatever you think of Trump, his economic plan makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump's economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target. People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs, while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%?
I understand what you're trying to do, but you can't force the person that helped you to be comfortable to help you stay comfortable, and then you charge him back.
And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again. That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues. He also make this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. If he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes. For individuals, anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay 0 taxes. And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%, compared to the European average of 22%. France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth. Bottom line, this is exactly how a government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed, to the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government, to protect the weak. Very few countries have the political will to do it. It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision. Do you have leaders in your country pushing for real reform, or are they talking about non-relevant side topics? And let me know if you think Trump's plan is bad. Let me know why, because I think it is just common sense.
Yeah, but common sense is a very dangerous thing these days. You might have an ally, you do everything they say, you bought the car they told you to buy, and once you bought it, they might burn it unless you put a sticker on it, because that's common sense.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Butta fire na mi blonde, kush hash purple skunk, criollo colombici jam jam, turloqueta verdetta welcome.